おはようございます。Hi, everybody online. Gentle reminder, please turn your videos on. おはようございます。
こんにちは、先生。
はい、こんにちは。Just wait another minute. We'll get started. はい。では始めましょう。はい。では始めます。はい。発。礼。おはようございます。はい、どうぞ。はい。オンラインの皆さんもおはようございます。
おはようございます。
はい。
おはようございます、先生。
はい、おはようございます。はい。So I hope everyone has caught up. I was doing some homework review yesterday and today. So you may have, I'm not sure if you received notifications, but in case you don't, I just wanted to let you know, I have reviewed everyone's submissions until now. So there are some scores if it turned out really low after I corrected it. I re-enabled it so that you can retake the test so that you are able to understand the concept. The main thing is you should practice and understand the grammar part. So I have re-enabled it. For some of you, I have not yet re-enabled it. I want you to review it today or tomorrow. Check all of your scores. Please check your scores so that you can see where you have gone wrong. If you have any question, like you don't understand what you missed, you can take a screenshot or something and then message me in Google Classroom. I will be able to check and tell you, okay, so sometimes it's something really small, like a spelling. In gakko, if you did not elongate the sound, or if you've added this dakuten, the voicing mark, you should not have added it. Things like that are also incorrect. It's like incorrect spelling. So I would have not given the score for that. So I want you to review your test scores over this weekend because I will reset it by Monday or Tuesday. And then you won't know where you went wrong. So please be sure to review it so that when I reset it, you'll be able to try again and you'll know what to do right this time. Yes. So I hope everybody, there are some of you who've done up to like lesson 6 or 7, but not yet finished lesson 8. So please catch up also if you have not completed it yet. So today we will continue with lesson 9. I'll start with a little bit of review, and then we will continue where we left off with lesson 9 last week. Tomorrow, I'm going to take a little more time to do review of some other things that we saw last week. But today I thought we can pick up something new. We just started with adjective conjugation last week. So I'm going to pick up on that mainly, do a little practice, and also, hi.
Sensei, does lesson 9 have conjugations?
Yes, it does. So the main thing in lesson 9 is adjective conjugation. So that's what we'll be focusing on. I also posted an additional couple of quizzes in Google Classroom. So if you've not seen it yet, please take it. This is just extra. It's not the main part of your syllabus. But if you feel it's confusing, this verbs and adjectives and such, please take that so you get some clarity. That's why I have posted it there. Hi. Shall I begin?
はい、先生。
いいですか？はい。では。はい。First, いつもの質問です。いつも、always, ね、every time. And 質問は何ですか？ question ですね。どこでしょう？はい。いつもの質問です。今日は何月何日ですか？今日は
6月15日です。
15ですね。今日は6月15日。何曜日ですか？
土曜日。
今日は土曜日ですね。昨日は何日でしたか？
昨日は金曜日でした。
何日でしたか
14日です。
14日ですね。昨日は14日。past tense。はい。でした。ね。昨日は14日でした。Actually, for this kanji, the reading that we're using is ka here. So you don't have to add nichi afterwards. Right? 昨日は14日でした。昨日は何曜日でしたか？
金曜
昨日は金曜日でした。昨日は金曜日でした。Fantastic. Hi. Last week in lesson 8, we saw some dialogue in the textbook, which was like buying things in a shop, right? We looked at that kind of conversation. So today we're going to do a little bit of practice like that. You can see in this example. And based on that example, we're going to make some sentences. It's practice for 1, using counter suffixes. And 2, for talking about the prices of objects. For example, can you just read the example? Ichimai. Hi. 50円ですね。この紙は1枚50円です。What does that mean? One page? 50 yen, right? This paper, one sheet is 50 yen. ね、この紙は1枚50円です。So how would you do it for the next item? 何ですか？シャツ。はい。Counter suffix? 枚。It's the same thing. 1枚。Yes. So the word for 1,000 is 10, but when you make it 3,000, we change the pronunciation, right? 3,000 and this. すいません。はい。and this. このシャツは1枚3,000円です。Very good. The next one. 何ですか? What is the object? Pen, right? It's a pen. And what counter suffix should we use? My? Do we use my? Exactly. We have to use hon, ton, bon, right? So here we're talking about 1 in number. What should the pronunciation be? Very good. Ippon, right? Ippon. We saw that if it's starting with an H sound, the counter suffix, then for ichi, roku, hachi, and ju, it changes to a per sound and becomes a double consonant, right? So ippon, roppon, happon, juppon. Okay? So here it's ippon. Kono pen wa ippon, 100. Very good. 1本100円です。100円。As usual, when you give a number, you cannot just give the number, right? You have to say what it is for. Like if it's the year, you have to add nen. If it's the amount in terms of currency, you have to add yen, rupee, or whatever it is. So 1本100円です。これ何ですか？
リンゴです。
リンゴですね。このリンゴは what counter suffix?
Ko.
Very good. Small objects, right? We can say ko. How do we count 1 with ko?
Iko.
Ko, right? It's number plus counter. This is the structure. So once you have decided the counter has to be mai or hon, pon, bon, or ko, or all of those options are there. Dai, nin, all of that. You only pick one counter, depending on what you're counting. And then you have to add the number in front. So here it's ikko. Ringo wa ikko, how much?
150 yen desu.
Very good. 150 yen desu. このリンゴは1個150円. Now you can use 1個 or you can use the tsu counter suffix. When we were learning the numbers in lesson 8, we saw that you can count with tsu, but only up until 9, right? 1つ、2つ、3つ、4つ、5つ、6つ. I counted one extra. 6つ、7つ、8つ、9つ。ね、9つ. The 10th number is to, and it doesn't have a tsu ending. We don't have it, so we don't usually count that. After 9, we don't count. So we can either say hitotsu or ikko. If you don't know to use whether it's mai, whether it's ko, whether it's, except for people, you cannot replace nin with tsu, but any object. If you don't know what counter to use tsu. You cannot go wrong with tsu. But the limitation is you can count only till 9. So if you're counting 14 of an object, you don't have a choice. Find the right counter. But as long as it's within 1 to 9, use tsu if you have any hesitation. Right? You have to pick one counter, go for this one. Now in this scenario, you have this boy who's shopping for some fruit, and he's asking the shopkeeper. What is he asking first? Sono ringo wa ikura desu ka? What does it mean? How much? Right? How much is that apple, right? How much is that apple? So when he says sono ringo, the ringo has to be close to B, right? A is the speaker here. B is the listener. So the ringo that he's talking about has to be close to B. Which of the two is closer to B? There's a ringo here, and by the way, there's a ringo here. You cannot see it. Hi. There's one here and one here. Which of them is closer to B? That's one, right? Kono ringo desu ne. So, sono ringo. Now, when B answers, how does he refer to it?
Kono ringo.
Kono ringo wa, hai, ikura desu ka?
160 yen desu.
Kono ringo wa ikko. It's normal to say for one, it's so much, right? That's the normal way we give the price. Otherwise, it's not clear how many you're selling. Is it a bushel of apples? Is it just 2 apples? Ikko 160 yen desu. Now the next question, nan desu ka? Ano? Is it big? Banana desu ne. Ano banana wa ikura desu ka? What does that mean? How much is that banana? Now, ano means over there. It's far away from both A and B. So which of the two is far for both B and A? 480? Kind of close to him, no? We'll go with this one. It's really subjective, but anyway, we'll just pick this for now. So, ano banana wa ikura desu ka? What's the answer? What will B say? Ano. B will also say ano because it's far away from both of them. Ano banana wa? Hi. 320. San 100. The pronunciation changes to San 100. Ne. Ano banana wa ikko 320 yen desu. That banana, one is 320 yen. 320 yen desu. So totally, A-san, that is the person who's shopping, is saying Sonringo. Sankoto. Ano banana. Ikko desu ne. Kudasai. He's asking, please give me 3 of that apple and one banana. Right? By the way, for banana, you can use different suffixes. A lot of them are okay. For example, you can use tsu to count it. You can use ko to count it. You can even use hon, pon, bon, because it's kind of elongated in shape. So anything is fine. Ippon, hitotsu, ikko. All 3 are okay. Ano banana, ikko kudasai. Now the shopkeeper has to calculate, right, the total amount. Zenbu de, totally. How much? Ikura desu ka? 160 into 3 plus 320. You can give me the answer in English first.
800.
Good. Maths is safe. 600 desu ka? 160 into 3. 800, right? 160 into 3 plus 320. 800. So how do you say 800 N in Japanese? 800. Very good. 800 円です。ね、800円です。全部で800円です。ね、はい、どうぞ。ね、はい、お疲れ様でした。大丈夫ですか？はい。Any questions? 大丈夫ですね。はい、オンラインの皆さん、ご質
Hello, madam.
ありますか？
I have one more question.
Yes, please. Go on.
In Japan, they are using, if I ask some things, they use mitsu, futatsu, mitsu. What's the difference between iko and itsu, futatsu?
It's just the category of things that you're counting, but ko and su are also quite general. So there's not much difference. We just cannot use them for people, but there's not much difference. You don't use ko for really big objects, though.
Okay.
That's the only main difference.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
はい。大丈夫ですか？はい。では、ね、let's get back into lesson 9. We're going to start with a very quick recap about verbs, and then we're going to learn a few new verbs in this lesson. Shall we? So, recap first. Now, I've done you the favor of putting that there are 3 groups, right? There are 3 verb groups. Can you tell me the main characteristics of the 3 groups? First, starting with group 1. What can we call it? Yes. It's known as Godan Doshi. It's also known as Godan is 5 level. The meaning of Godan is 5 level, right? It's also known as Udoshi because it ends in any U sound. The plain form ends in any U sound. It's also known as Udoshi, or we can say Ichi group no Doshi, right? So one of the names also comes from its main characteristic. It ends with any U sound. Can you give me examples of 2 or 3 Ichi group no Doshi? Hi. Ikimasu or iku. Taimasu. What's the plain form?
Now,
Kau. Very good. Aru. Excellent.
Au.
Hai. Yomu. I heard aru. That's also correct. Aru means to meet. Mimasu is actually umi group. So until here, we're good. Now, what is the characteristic of ni group? What's the name?
Ichidan.
Dandoshi. Right? That is one level verb, right? And what is it known for?
Ru.
It always ends in ru. It's 100%, right? Every time, ni group no doshi must end in ru sound. Can you give me some examples?
Iru, taberu.
Iru,
Ageru.
Taberu, very good. What else?
Agiru.
Okaru.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Okaru.
Wakaru?
Ageru.
Wataru. Is it ichi group or ni group? Now we come to the next thing. If it ends with ru, what do you have to check? Previous sound, right?
That is Ichiguru.
If the previous sound is a, u, or o, here it's a ka, so a sound. Then it's ichi group. This name. If it is a, what other sounds?
A.
A sound, then it's mostly ni group. So far, we learned one exception to this. Does anyone remember the exception?
Shimas.
Kaerimasu. Yes. Kaeru. It's actually ichi group. It ends with ru. The previous sound is a sound, but it's actually ichi group. For now, this is the only exception. We'll see more exceptions soon, but not too many. Maybe around 5 to 10 exceptions totally in N5. Lastly, group 3. Fukisoku doshi. You don't have to remember that. Irregular verbs. Which verbs? Very good. Yes. Kimasu and
Shimas.
shimasu. What do they mean?
To come, to do.
Very good. This is to come and this is to do. Shimasu. Now there's something special about shimasu, something very convenient about shimasu, and I think Indians can relate with this. You can attach shimasu to any, not any, but many nouns and make that noun into a verb. Like, for example, in Tamil, we like take an English word and then we add pannu and it becomes do that thing, right? Like call pannu, homework pannu, clean pannu. The same in Japanese.
There Mokuna.
Vignesh-san, I think your mic is on. Hi. Arigatou gozaimasu. Hi. So in Japanese, we have a bunch of nouns that if we add suru, it becomes a verb. It's not true for all nouns, but it's true for many, many nouns. You can just keep this in mind. We'll see some examples very soon. Yes. So one example that I can think of telling you right away is, in your textbook, after every lesson, you have some practice exercises. What's the title? Renshu, right? Renshu means practice. It's the noun. But if you want to say to do practice, to actually practice as an action, then you can say Renshu suru. Renshu shimasu. I will practice. I will do practice. So it's a very convenient verbification of any noun. Not all. As I said, many of them are there, but not all of them. So these are the basics about the nouns. So a quick recap of the rule. How do you change ichigroup no doshi from plain form into polite form? Ichigroup from plain form to masu form. The ending u sound.
Will be replaced to masu.
First you have to change it to e sound of the same group. For example, this is the ma group, so this is going to become mi. So mu becomes mi, ru becomes ri, ku becomes ki. I think I'm thinking in Japanese now. Ki. So here, u, if it's plain u, it becomes plain e, right? So ichi group of the rule is u sound change to e sound and add mas. What about ni group? Yes. You just replace ru with mas. The same if you're going backwards, right? So this is the basics. Now let's take a look at some new verbs. I'm sorry if you have not had your breakfast. Hi. This person is doing what? Cooking, right? The verb is? Hi. Dozo. Tsukuru. Tsukuru. Can you tell me which group this verb is? Ichi group or ni group? Oh, It's ending in ru, but u sound. So it's ichi group. So what's the polite form?
Sukrimas.
What do you have to change to the e sound? So actually, yes, we are identifying its ichi group by looking at this second sound, right? But the sound that you have to change in verbs, it's always only the last sound. Only the last sound will undergo change. So, tsukurimasu. You look at the second sound only for identification. You don't do anything to that, right? This part stays the same. Only the ru must change, right? So, tsukurimasu. Tsukurimasu is to cook, to make something. You can also use it in the sense of creating something. Like, for example, you're somebody who's in carpentry. So creating a new product, you're making a chair, you're making a table, a desk. That's also tsukurimasu, to make something from scratch. So it's not only to cook, but also to make or to create. So tsukurimasu, for example, dozo.
Sumimasen.
Dosa.
Hi, sumimasen, dozo. Yeah, there's
What
a
is Ryorimas? Ryorimas.
Thank you for asking. Yes. So you have another word. Hi, dozo. You can read it. Yes.
Ryori.
Ryori. Ryori is actually a noun. It means cuisine. It also means dish. And it can mean cooking. So ryori is a noun. If you want to make it a verb, you can add shimasu. Ryori shimasu has the same meaning as tsukurimasu. It's just that tsukurimasu is a more general term. As I said, you can use it for other things also. But ryori is only for food. You can only ryori shimasu, a dish or an item that you can eat. You can tsukurimasu anything, right? You can create anything. So that's the difference. Daijoubu desu ka?
Daijoubu desu. Arigato.
And also, ryori also means cuisine and dish, right? So, for example, if you want to, this dish is very tasty. Kono ryori wa totemo oishii. You can say it like that. So, this dish. Also, you can talk about a country's cuisine. Indo ryori, Indian cuisine. Italia ryori, Italian cuisine. Nihon ryori, Japanese cuisine, and so on. Hi, exactly. Thai ryori is Thailand cuisine. Very good. Hi, multi-cuisine. That's a good question. I have to check on that because it's not that common a term in Japan. It's very normal in India, right? A restaurant to be multi-cuisine. But I'm not sure. I'll check and get back to you. Hi. Dozo, yonde kudasai. Sorry, please read. Dosa to biryani oはい。Tsukurimasu. ね。ドーサとビリヤニを作りますね。Today's menu. Breakfast ね。ドーサ。で、ランチはビリヤニです。作ります。大丈夫ですか？はい。Speaking of cooking, the next thing is eating. はい。But we already know the verb for eating, so we're going to skip that. What is this person doing here?
Eating that.
He's eating rice with chopsticks, right? Chopsticks wa nan desu ka? Ohashi. Exactly. Sometimes you can just say hashi. Ohashi is more respectful. Hai. So this person is using chopsticks, right? What is the verb to use? Tsukau. Tsukau. It's very easy to confuse tsukuru and tsukau. They sound a little similar. Tsukau. Ichi group desu ka? Ni group desu ka? Excellent. Has to be ichi group, right? It doesn't end with ru. So tsukau. Polite form is? Hi. Ichi group, we have to change u sound into? E sound. Tsukaimasu. Tsukaimasu. Please do read the sentence.
Hashi o
Hashi o tsukaimasu. Okay, I use chopsticks. O hashi o tsukaimasu. Ne, what's he eating? Hi.
Gohan.
Yes, sumimasen. Yes.
Ohashi here means are they giving the respect for the chopsticks or the for person?
For the chopsticks. Because it's like when you give respect to food, you're also giving respect to the tools that you use to eat the food. So ohashi usually gets respect. It has nothing to do with whose chopsticks it is. Your own chopsticks is also ohashi. And food. Gohan. So gohan means several things. Actually, what it means specifically is steamed rice. That is, it's cooked rice. You have a separate word for uncooked or raw rice. That is okome. Okome, and the O is again for respect. Okome is raw rice. It's what you buy like in the provision store. Whereas gohan is cooked or steamed rice. Just like in India, when we use the words for rice, soru, sapadu, it also means meal, right? So gohan also means meal. It need not always be rice. Somebody might ask you, have you had food, right? Have you had your meal? They'll use gohan, but they don't exactly mean rice. Hi.
Sensei, how do we say breakfast in Japanese?
Great question. So breakfast is asa gohan. Asa means morning. Gohan is meal. So your morning meal, asa gohan. You also have lunch, which is hiru gohan. Hiru means noon. Hiru is noon. So hiru gohan, noon meal, lunch. And the last one is, they say, Yuhan. Sometimes it's like a shortened form. Yuhan. You're dropping the go in gohan. You're dropping the go in gohan. And this is supposed to be yugata, evening. So you combine it and make yuhan, which is evening meal or dinner. Another word is ban gohan. Ban as in konbanwa, we say, right? Konbanwa, evening. So evening meal, ban gohan, dinner. So asa gohan, hiru gohan, ban gohan. Hai. Daijoubu desu ka? Hai.
In this passage, you have taught something like raw fish. You have said some word for
Hai.
raw. Is that the same word here we are using the raw?
Raw. Yeah, chigaimasu. Actually, this word doesn't have the meaning raw in it. It just means rice, but they imply that it's uncooked rice. It's the rice that you get from the fields. And then this is cooked rice. So they don't have the word raw in this word. That is nama. Nama no sakana, nama no tamago. Raw fish, raw eggs. It's not here. Hi.
Gohan means only meat and steamed rice, right?
Yes.
But food is tabemono.
Yes. Food is a much broader category. Gohan is a bit narrow. So for example, you see an item and it doesn't look like food to you, right? You wouldn't think that it's food. Kore wa tabemono desu ka? Is this edible thing? Is it food? But gohan is a meal proper or rice. So it's more narrow and specific. So you see somebody having an apple at like 2 o'clock. Sore wa hiru gohan desu ka? Is that your lunch? Is that a meal? No, it's just a fruit, right? It's not enough for a meal. So that's the implied meaning. So that's the main difference. This is a very narrow thing. Whereas tabemono is very broad. Any edible thing is tabemono. Daijoubu desu ka?
Sumimasen, sensei.
Hi, Vignesh-san, dozo.
Like I don't remember, but in one anime, I have seen that for meal, they have written as shokuzi, something like that.
Yes. So shoku, you might remember, is the onyomi for the taberu kanji. We saw it last week, right? So in some words, shoku will appear. It tends to be a more formal way of saying than this. Asa gohan is a little more everyday language. Using the shoku terms is a bit more formal. So instead of asa gohan, they'll say cho shoku. Cho shoku also means breakfast, but it's a bit formal. Instead of hiru gohan, they'll say chu shoku. Chu as in middle, naka kanji. This kanji. Okay. Chu shoku. Again, it's more formal. So it depends on the situation. They might use that term instead of this term. They mean the same thing. Daijoubu desu ka?
In company environment, which they use like choshoku or
Yes.
this
If you
asagohan.
go to an office, they might use that more formal term, especially if they're talking to a superior, somebody who's above them in status, somebody who they need to show that, I'm speaking properly, rather than using casual language. But this is okay for your colleagues and friends. Asa gohan, hiru gohan, that's normal. Good question. Daijoubu desu ka? Hi. Hi, I'm just going to erase the slide. There's a lot written here. So if you want, you can write this down. It's also there in your textbook. Asa gohan, hiru gohan, ban gohan. It's given as vocabulary later on. So he's having gohan. He's having rice. And of course, you know the verb to eat. Nan desu ka?
Taberu.
Taberu. And what group is it? Ichi group or ni group? Ni group desu ne. Ends with ru and the sound before ru is an a sound.
A sound.
So polite form is
Tabemasu.
tabemasu. Hi, Dozo, please read this.
Ashi de nihon wo tabemasu.
Very good. Hashi de gohan o tabemasu. What do you think it means? Exactly. I eat rice with chopsticks, using chopsticks. So this day is very similar to the day that you use for method, but more precisely, you're using it for a tool over here. The tool that you use to do this action is also marked with de. They're kind of related, the two of them. So you can use it for any tool. For example, if you eat with spoon, you can also say spoon de gohan o tabemasu. Te, right hand, te de tabemasu. I eat with my hand, and so on. So de is to indicate the tool used to do this action. It's connected to the action, right? So hashi de gohan o tabemasu. Fork de spaghetti o tabemasu. Te de sandwich o tabemasu. You can use it accordingly. Daijoubu desu ka? That's it for the new verbs. I mean, as such, the new ones are tsukuru and tsukau. Please be careful with these two verbs. They're easy to confuse. Now, in lesson 8, we saw this expression, right? To say, in this cafe, there's nothing but coffee. Hi. How did we say it? You can read the sentence. Those are. Kissaten ni kohi shika arimasen. Okay. The important thing is, the structure of this is, shika is a particle, meaning only or nothing but. But for, except. It has all these meanings, right? The thing that comes after shika has to be in negative form. I did see in some of your homework submissions, I saw some in positive, affirmative form. Arimasu, imasu. That's incorrect. If you see shika anywhere in Japanese language, it's going to be followed by negative. Even till the highest level, if you go, shika is always followed by negative form. So please keep that in mind. Shika arimasen. Shika imasen. Shika tabemasen. The verb should always be in negative form. Right? So there's nothing but coffee. Now, shika has a slight tone to it. Right? When somebody uses shika, they're giving this impression that it's somehow not okay, not enough. I'm not happy with this cafe. It has only coffee. It doesn't have any other options. But what if I don't want to give this tone? I'm just being objective. I just want to say, oh, that place, it has only coffee. I like it. If you don't mind, we can go there. And I'm not saying that it's insufficient. I just want to say that's the fact. I'm not going to judge the restaurant. I'm just giving the fact. To do that, you have another option instead of shika. That is another particle. Just read the particle. Dake. Dake exactly means only. Only. Dozo, you can read the sentence. Hi. Hi. この喫茶店にコーヒーだけがあります。There's only coffee. What is the form of the verb? Affirmative or negative? It's affirmative form, right? It's not arimasen. It's an affirmative form. Dake is a very objective word. You don't have any judgment when you say it. You're just stating the fact. And it can be used with both affirmative and negative. So one, you can say, in this cafe, there's only coffee. Kohi dake ga arimasu. Very literally, it means there is only coffee. There is, right? It's affirmative. Whereas over here, shika arimasen. There's nothing but coffee. Everything else is not there. There is no other thing except coffee. You're also speaking of it in a negative way. Here you can speak in a positive way also. You can speak in a negative way also. Could you please read these two sentences? Watashi wa kono hon dake o yomimasu. What does it mean? I read exactly. I read only this book. Like, for example, I precisely like this series. I read only Percy Jackson. I don't like anything else. Kono hon dake o yomimasu. How about the next sentence? Yomimasen. What does this mean? I don't read only this book. I read all other books in the universe, but this one I won't read, whatever happens. Right? I don't like that writer. I don't like that story. Kono hon dake o yomimasen. So dake applies to whatever you're highlighting, and any type of verb can go with it. Positive verb, negative verb, anything can go with it. Only this, I do or I don't do. It can be both ways. Whereas shika is a bit limited, this is a bit more broad. Another thing you would have noticed is dake plays nice with other particles, right? You have to include that particle also. In the case of shika, we drop wa, ga, or o. In the case of dake, we don't drop anything. Just that dake should come before that particle. Dake ga arimasu. Dake o yomimasu. Dake wa, Raja-san dake wa, something this. You can say anything. Kimasen deshita. Only Raja didn't come. So you have to drop for shika, you don't drop for these, for this dake. So unlike this one where you have the tone, it's not sufficient. Shika is, the tone of the speaker is there. In dake, there's no tone. You can say it very objectively. You're just indicating a fact. Shall we practice this a little bit? To practice, vanan desu ka? Hi? Plus, you have to add suru or shimasu. Renshu shimasu. We'll practice. We're going to practice. Renshu shimasu. Hi. There are only Indian restaurants. We try to use dake. Indo no restaurant
dake
ga
arimasu.
Fantastic. Indo no restaurant dake ga arimasu. There's only dosa in this restaurant.
このレストランにドーサだけがあります。
Dosa dake ga.
Arimasu.
Very good. I'm very happy to see everyone starting with kono restaurant ni. In Japanese, the natural thing is start with time and place information. That's always put in the beginning of the sentence. Kono restaurant ni dosa dake ga arimasu. There's nothing else. There's only this. But we're not saying it with any tone. There is only this available. Hi. I buy only this book. Watashi wa
Kono
kono hon dake o
kaimasu.
kaimasu. I buy only this book. Kono hon dake o kaimasu. Nothing else. I buy only this book. You're marking the book with o. Before o, you're bringing in dake. Same as ga. Dake ga, dake o, dake wa. We always put dake before. Raja doesn't read only this newspaper. Raja-san wa kono
Kono shinbun.
shinbun desu ne. Kono shinbun
Dake wo yomimasen.
dake o yomimasu. Yomimasen ne. Negative form. Doesn't read. Kono shinbun dake o yomimasen. He reads all the other papers, but this one, he doesn't read. Right? Kono shinbun dake o yomimasen. Okay? So dake, we can use both with affirmative and with negative. It depends on what you're trying to convey. Daijoubu desu ka? Let's try one more. Baby-san reads only English books. Yomimasu. Eigo no hon dake o yomimasu. Make the same sentence using shika. She doesn't read anything but English books. Baby-san wa eigo no hon shika. Even though it's affirmative in the original, shika always goes with negative, right? So, shika yomimasen. Dake o yomimasu. So this is the difference. If you're going to use either or, you have to remember to change for shika into negative form. Right? Eigo no hon shika yomimasen. Actually, yomimasen is applying to the things that she doesn't read. Whatever is outside the sentence. What's in the sentence is actually affirmative, but it's not being stated in the sentence. Yomimasen applies to all those books that she won't read. Right? Hi. Daijoubu desu ka?
Daijoubu desu.
Hai. Otsukaresama desu. Hi. The main thing of lesson 9 was adjectives. We did look at it very briefly last week. So a quick recap. We looked at how to change adjectives into which form? Yes, exactly. We looked at negative form. That was the new thing. Before we saw plain and polite form. Right? For E adjective, plain and polite is basically adding or not using desu. For na adjective, it's da or desu. This is plain versus polite. Plain versus polite. We also learned how to make the negative form last week. How do you make negative form of E adjective? We drop the E, add kunai. So naga kunai. That's the plain form. How do you make the polite form? Yes. You can add a desu and make it polite, or instead of nai, you can use arimasen. Very good. Nagaku arimasen, nagaku nai desu. Nagaku nai is the plain form. What about na adjective? Negative form. Yes. Instead of da or desu, deva. And then the same thing as above. Nai or arimasen. Sorry. Or nai desu. Okay. So the main change is for na adjective, because this da and desu has to be in some form, that is changing into deva. Whereas e adjectives can directly change, the e will transform into ku. Nagaku nai. The adjective itself is transforming. Whereas here the adjective is staying the same. Only this extra part is changing. Right? That's the general pattern with na adjectives. So just a few new adjectives, since this lesson is so much about food. We're going to learn a few adjectives to do with flavors and tastes. Hi, tasty wa nan desu ka? Oishii. Oishii. What about awful? Bad tasting. Mazui. Both of these are e adjectives. They're opposites. Oishii, mazui. Mazui. What about spicy? Harai. Easy to remember. Harai. Sweet is amai. Amai. Harai, amai. You can add it to any noun like karai tabemono, karai ryori, or amai tabemono, amai ryori, taste or sweet food, sweet dish, and so on. So, oishii, mazui, karai, amai, and a couple of na adjectives. We actually know one already. Hai, nan desu ka? Kireina. Kireina, clean or beautiful. It's a na adjective, right? What's the opposite of kireina? Kitanai. Kitanai. Kitanai is actually a e adjective. Kitanai means dirty, messy. It also means messy. Hi. And you also know this one. Nan desu ka? Genki na. Energetic, fine, healthy. Genki na otokonoko. A healthy boy. Genki na onnanoko. A healthy girl, an energetic girl. So genki na, kirei na. Both of these are na adjectives. Daijoubu desu ka? So we're going to just do a little bit of practice for the conjugation that we saw last week. I hope you all did a little bit of review. So as we just saw, kono kohi wa oishii desu. What's the negative form? Oishii. Oishiku nai desu. This coffee is not tasty. Oishiku arimasen. It's not tasty. Kunai, ku arimasen for e adjective. Na adjective. Hayashi-san wa genki desu. How do we change it to negative? Genki dewa nai desu. Genki dewa arimasen. This is in fact the same as nouns, right? What we saw way back in lesson 1 was exactly this. Onaji desu ne. It's the same thing. Watashi wa sensei de wa arimasen. Watashi wa gakusei de wa arimasen. Nihonjin de wa arimasen. It's the same thing. Noun de wa arimasen. Nouns and na adjective follow the same pattern. Only e adjectives are a bit special. Ja. Let's practice this a little bit. Hi. Please change these adjectives into their negative form.
Nine.
E adjective. The step is add ku and then nai. Karaku nai, karaku arimasen. Oishii, oishiku Nai desu. Oishiku arimasen. Yasui? Yasuku nai desu. Yasuku arimasen. What do they mean? Harai is spicy, right? Oishi? Yasui? Cheap. Very good. That was quick. Cheap. Cheap or the price is low. That's the meaning, right? So karaku nai, not spicy. Oishiku nai, not tasty. Yasuku nai is not cheap, right? Yasuku nai. So if you were to take away the arimasen option, and if you drop the desu from nai, it's the plain form. Karaku nai. It's plain language. So oishiku arimasen, plain is oishiku nai. Yasuku arimasen, plain form. Yasuku nai. Let's try a few more. Hai. Amai means sweet, right? Negative form is amaku arimasen. Amaku nai. Nai desu. Takai? Yes. Expensive or tall. It has both meanings. Negative is takaku arimasen. Takaku nai desu. This is? What is chikai? Yes. Near or close by. Hi. Negative form is chikaku arimasen. Chikaku nai desu. Yes, so for example, somebody asks you, oh, sono sumaho, ii desu ne. It looks nice. Takai desu ka? Iie, takaku arimasen. Kore wa yasui desu yo. So, takaku arimasen. It's not expensive. Anata no ie kara eki wa chikai desu ka? Iie, chikaku arimasen. It's not close. Hai. As again with the other types, if you want to change it to plain language, all you have to do is amaku nai. Drop the this. Takai becomes takaku nai. Chikai? Chikaku nai. So, ikeyoshi, negative form, you have to remember this. Ku. Change the e to ku and add nai. What about na adjective? Shizukana. What does it mean? Silent or quiet. Very good. It's a na adjective. Although it has na here, you have to remember that its plain form is da or polite form is desu. So what you're doing is changing this to dewa nai desu. Dewa arimasu. The next one is jozu na. It's actually jozu da or jozu desu. So jozu dewa arimasen. Jozu dewa nai desu. Raja-san wa Tamil go ga jozu desu ka? Iie, jozu dewa arimasen. He is not very good at Tamil language. Hai. Kirei na. It's clean or beautiful. Negative is? Kirei dewa arimasen. Kirei dewa nai desu. What's the plain form of each of these? How do you make plain negative? Again, take this one and drop the desu. You will arrive at plain. Same rule, right? Shizuka dewa nai. Jozu dewa nai. Kirei dewa nai. I also mentioned last week, in spoken language, deva sometimes is pronounced as ja. So, shizuka janai, jozu janai, kirei janai. This is very, very common in spoken Japanese. It doesn't mean plain language. It's just easy in spoken form. So even somebody being very polite in spoken language may use ja. It's quite common. So kirei janai. It's also seen with nouns. Watashi wa sensei dewa arimasen can be Sensei ja arimasen. Anywhere deva is there, it can become ja. It's just a spoken thing. And we'll practice a few more. Nan desu ka? Nigiyakana. What does it mean? Yes. Lively. How do you make the negative form? Nigiyaka. Deva. Nai desu or arimasen. Deva nai desu. Deva arimasen. Genki na. Genki deva arimasen. Genki deva nai desu. Ne, Raja-san wa kyou genki dewa arimasen yo. Raja doesn't look healthy today. He doesn't look energetic today. Hai. Yumeina. Famous, right? Very good. Negative is? Yume dewa arimasen. Yume dewa nai desu. As usual, plain form. Just drop the this. Ne? Iyaka janai. Genki janai. Yume janai. Daijoubu desu ka? Ah, hai.
They use janai when you meet a friend and you you are returning home and then you say janai.
Hai. That ja is also this deva. It's the same thing. Deva also can mean well then. When it's used independently in a sentence, it means well then. So it's like, well then, I'll see you tomorrow. In that sense. That is ja mata ne or ja ne. Sometimes they just say ja ne. Well then, okay, that's it. We'll see you. Ishitsumo desu. Hai. Daijoubu desu ka? Ja. Sure. Is it very cold? If I turn it off, I think it'll get very hot very quickly. So I'll just increase the temperature. Also, maybe adjust the fan. Hi. So far we have seen to talk about adjectives individually. We've seen how to put them in negative form. What if you want to describe the same thing with more than one adjective? Right? We're not going to each individual thing be like, this coffee is tasty. This coffee is expensive. This coffee is hot. We're going to be like, oh, this coffee is hot and tasty. This coffee is cheap and effective, right? I get a good kick. So we're going to see how to combine adjectives really quickly. It's not a very difficult thing. It's a little tricky. But now that you know how to do negative form, this is not so tricky. So let's find the adjective first. What is the adjective for cheap? Yasui, right? Yasui. And tasty. Oishi. You want to say, this dish is cheap and tasty. Kono ryori wa yasui to oishi. But do you remember what I told you about to? Only nouns, right? That's still true. You cannot use it for adjectives. So what you do, instead of yasui to oishi, you have to change the adjective into its connecting form. That is, it can connect with other things when you change it into this form. Dozo, please read it. Yasukute oishii desu. This is the connecting form of E adjectives. It's a little similar to negative form, right? What are we doing? What's the change? What's happening? Dropping the E, adding ku and adding te, right? Again, the ku is the glue part and te is the connector. Te is actually the universal connector in Japanese, right? Another form of te is de. That's what you saw earlier. So de is used for nouns and na adjectives. Te is used for verbs and E adjectives. So they're both related, and that is the universal connector in Japanese. The ku is E adjective is transforming so that it can attach with the connector. Yasukute. Yasukunai. It's going to, if it needs to attach something, it has to change into this ku form. That's the usual pattern. Kono tabemono wa yasukute oishii desu. What if I swapped it? It's tasty and cheap. How can I say that? Kono tabemono wa oishikute yasui desu. Exactly. So oishii becomes oishikute. So kute, connecting form of E adjectives. There's only one exception, and that is this adjective. Do you remember E? What does E mean? Good, right? E means good. As I have mentioned before, you can use E only as E. If you want to change it into something else, don't take E, take yoi and change yoi. Yokute. Yokute. We never say ikute. It doesn't exist. We say yokute. Kono ryori wa yasukute yoi ii desu, or yokute yasui desu. You'll have to put yoi first. Ii desu ka? Only this exception, you have to use the right form, that's all. Otherwise, the pattern is the same. Now we'll look at na adjective. Kore wa lively. Lively? Nigiyaka, nigiyaka na, and spacious, lot of room. Hiroi, hiroi desu. Now, how do you connect this? Nigiyaka. So again, we won't use to, and it's a na adjective. So we cannot use kute either. Kute is only for E adjective. De. Very good. It's the same pattern as when you connect sentences and nouns, you use de, right? The same thing with this. Nigiyaka de hiroi desu. That da or desu is becoming de, connecting form. Da transforms into de. Kono restaurant wa, hai, dozo. Nigiyaka de hiroi desu. It's lively and spacious. It's roomy, right? There's a lot of area. Nigiyaka de hiroi desu. Another advantage generally in Japanese, you can make it as long as you want. You don't have to use only 2 adjectives. You can give 4, 5, 6 adjectives, but be nice. I think 3 is a good number. Don't exceed 3. So if you want to say, kono restaurant wa lively, tasty, and spacious. Tasty in the sense the food is tasty. Nigiyaka de hirokute tasty. Oishii desu. Ne, kono restaurant wa nigiyaka de hirokute oishii desu. Ne, hai. Daijoubu desu ka? We'll quickly practice this in small form, and then we're going to make some sentences. So let's just connect the adjectives first. Hai, dozo. Ah, sorry. How do you connect them? Yasukute oishii. Ah, sorry. Yasukute oishii. Shizuka da karui. What does it mean? Hi. Karui? Yes. It's the opposite of omui. Omui is heavy. Karui is light. So say you're talking. Ah, yes. Ah, dozo. You're talking about like a computer, right? You just bought this really nice new computer, laptop. It's very silent, right? It doesn't make noise, and it's very lightweight. Hi, how do you combine it? Shizuka de karui desu. Watashi no atarashii pasokon wa shizuka de karui desu. It's silent and lightweight. I like it very much. Hi. Takai is nan desu ka? Tall. It could mean expensive. What is this? Rippada, magnificent. So, which one do you think? Tall or expensive? Tall, right? It's probably about a building. Magnificent, you don't say about something, some small object. Magnificent is usually for things that are large in proportion, right? So, takai and rippada. How do we combine it? Takakute, rippada. Very good. Takakute. Drop the e, add kute. Kirei da. Jozu da. What do they mean? Kirei de jozu desu. What is kirei? Clean or beautiful. Jozu, skillful, talented, right? Maybe you're talking about a person. Oh, that person is so good looking and so talented, right? They're able to do so much. Kirei de jozu desu or jozu da. Now the plain form is given here. Of course, you can change it to polite form. The connecting adjective does not have any plain or polite form. The ending adjective has plain or polite form, always. Generally, what comes at the end is plain or polite. All of the other things, it doesn't matter, right? They don't have to carry that responsibility of being plain or polite. Now let's try to make some sentences, shall we? Hi. Hi. What is this? Restaurant, you see? So that restaurant is nearby and cheap. Sono restaurant wa chikakute. Very good. Yasui desu. Sono restaurant wa or ano restaurant wa chikakute yasui desu. This dish, ryori, you can use ryori, is spicy and bad. Hi. Karai becomes karakute. Karakute, bad tasting. Hi. I heard somebody sing it. Warui is just bad. Bad tasting is? Hi. Mazui. Mazui. Kono ryori wa karakute mazui desu. But here it's just plain form. So you don't have to add desu. We're eliminating this. Karakute mazui. It's spicy and bad. I don't like it. My town, right? My city is lively and famous. Machi wa lively. Yume desu. Nigiyaka de yume desu. What if I want to reverse it? If I say yume first? Yume. So yume. Is it yume kute or is it yume de?
Yume de.
Yume de. Yume is a na-adjective, right? Watashi no machi wa yume de nigiyaka desu. It's famous and lively. Daijoubu desu ka? I will share this also. I haven't shared this expanded one. Here I have added the connecting form for e-adjective and na-adjective to the table. So far, I think I added only the negative form one in Google Classroom. I will share this also. Before we proceed, we're going to practice a few more types of sentences, right? Just a small activity. Now, you want to say, not clean. What is the word for clean? Kirei. E-adjective or na-adjective? Kirei?
No.
Let's write it and see. Kirei, if it's ending in E, you'll have to check the previous sound. Is it A sound? If it is an A sound, then it should definitely be na-adjective. Kirei na or kirei da. What's the negative form?
Kirei de wa arimasen.
Kirei de wa arimasen. Kirei de wa nai. Ne? Watashi no heya wa kirei de wa nai. Kirei de wa arimasen. Hai. Not easy. What's the word for easy? Muzukashi is difficult. Yasashi is easy. So not easy. Yasashi, adjective or not adjective? Yasashi, adjective. Yasashi, nice. Yasashiku arimasen. Very good. Not easy. Watashi no testo wa yasashiku arimasen. The test is not easy. Now this house, chotto, furui desu. It's an old house. You want to say, it's spacious, but it's not new. What's the word for spacious? Very good. Hiroi. Demo. Not new. How can you say? What is new?
Atarashi.
Tarashi. So what's the negative form?
Atarashi.
Very good. Ne? Kono ie wa hiroi desu. Demo.
Atarashi kunai desu.
Nai desu. Atarashiku nai desu. Ne? Kono heya wa, sorry, kono ie wa hiroi desu. It's spacious. Demo atarashiku nai desu. You can of course say atarashiku arimasen. It's the more naturally polite form. And lastly, kore wa nan desu ka? Terebi desu ne. Furui terebi desu. So it's old and it's not convenient. Old is furui. How do you make it in connecting form? Furui. Sorry. Hi. It's an e adjective. So furukute. Drop the e, add kute. Furukute.
Entry deva arimasu.
Very good. Kono terebi wa furukute benri de wa arimasen. Furukute benri de wa nai desu. It's old and not convenient. Right? It's very inconvenient to operate because it's old. Daijoubu desu ka? So here we're using the connecting form and we're adding another adjective. That adjective can even be in negative form if you want, right? This is affirmative, that's negative. You can, of course, connect like that. Daijoubu desu ka? Hai. Otsukaresama deshita. Any questions so far? Muzukashii desu ka? Chotto muzukashii desu. Ie, muzukashiku arimasen. Muzukashii, negative form is muzukashiku arimasen. I want you to say it eventually. Muzukashiku arimasen. Hai. One last thing we're going to see. It's not a new conjugation, but just like we saw shika plus negative form, dake plus affirmative form, we're going to learn a small nuance, right? A way of adding something to the way you express sentences in Japanese. It's very simple, but it changes the meaning in a very important way. Now let's take a look at this sentence first. Dozo, please read it.
Kaimono ni ikimasen.
Kaimono ni ikimasen. What does it mean? Going shopping.
Going for shopping.
Going shopping, right? When you say this sentence in English, I don't go shopping, what does it mean? It means you never go shopping, right? Oh, me, I don't go shopping. Oh, I don't go for movies. When you say that, you're trying to tell someone you never do this activity, right? Oh, it's just not my thing. I don't go shopping. Or it's just not my thing. I don't watch movies. When you put it in this way, in a generic sentence, it becomes never doing that activity. But most of us don't belong to a category where we never at all do that activity. It just means we want to say, I don't go very often, right? I don't go very much. So that's all we're going to do. We're going to add this expression, very much, not much. And all we have to do to the same sentence, we're adding one word. Amari. Amari. Amari means much. Amari is also usually clubbed with negative form. So it ends up meaning not much. And when I say much, in the case of verbs, it means not often. That is, the frequency is less. You can also use it with adjectives to mean not very. The degree is less. Because adjectives measure quality of something, it's not much in that quality. So for example, you have a new phone and your friend asks you, was it expensive? You don't want to lie. You don't want to say it's cheap, right? You don't want to say it's not expensive. You just want to say it's not very expensive. It's not like an 80,000 rupee phone. It's more like a 30,000 rupee phone, right? It's still expensive. It's not crazy expensive. Not very. You can add amari. Plus, what's the negative form of expensive? Takai. Takaku Very good. Amari takaku nai desu. Amari takaku arimasen. It's not that expensive. So amari plus negative form, just by adding that amari, you're giving this additional nuance to your sentence. It's pretty simple, pretty easy, but we have to remember to add it. So that's all. We're going to just practice making sentences using this amari form. Hai, dozo.
There is a word like totemo means really.
Totemo is used with affirmative form. So totemo takai desu. It's very expensive. We don't use totemo takaku arimasen. We won't use it with the negative form. If you want with negative, not much, not very, then you use amari with negative form. ちょっと練習しましょう. Let's practice this a little. First, I want you to change just the verbs or adjectives. Amari plus that verb in negative form or adjective in negative form. Hai, これは何ですか?
食べる
What does it mean?
to eat.
To eat. So this is a verb, right? What is the negative form?
食べません
Tabemasen, ne? I don't eat much. Amari. Tabemasen. You can, of course, I don't mean it generically. You can mean it about some specific item, right? Like, oh, watashi wa biryani o amari tabemasen. I don't eat it that often. I don't eat it that much. Or kudamono, fruits. Kudamono o amari tabemasen. So instead of just saying kudamono o tabemasen, I don't eat fruits, it's just not so much, not so often. Hai.
Amari kaimasen.
Yes. So, amari kaimasen, ne? Amari kaimasen. I don't buy much. Again, you can talk about any specific thing. Watashi wa hon o amari kaimasen. I don't buy books very often. Hai. It means? Hai.
Kimasen.
Very good. The polite form is kimas. So negative form is kimasen, ne? Amari kimasen. Watashi wa gakkou ni amari kimasen. Yeah, I don't come to school often. Hai. What is it?
Sukurimasen.
Hai. Tsukurimasu. To make. Amari tsukurimasen. I don't make it often. I don't cook that particular dish very often. Watashi wa vegetarian no tabemono wa amari tsukurimasen. I don't make vegetarian food much. Example. Hai.
あまり読みません
Hai. Polite form?
読みます
Negative?
読みます
Amari? Watashi wa shinbun o amari yomimasen. I don't read newspapers much. Hai. Kore wa? Tsukau. What is tsukau? To use. Polite form?
Kaimasu.
Tsukai imasu. Right? You have to change it to e and add mas because it's ichi group. Tsukaimasu. I don't use chopsticks much. How can you say it? Hashi wa amari tsukai masen. Watashi wa ohashi o amari tsukaimasen. I don't use chopsticks very much. Hi, this verb is suru, polite form. Shimasu, I don't do it much. Amari shimasen, very good. Amari shimasen. Watashi wa nihongo no shukudai o amari shimasen. Yeah, I don't do my Japanese homework much. I don't eat dosa very often. Give me the complete sentence. Dosa o dosa. Amari. I don't eat it much. I don't eat it often. Dosa o amari tabemasen. I don't buy books very often. Hon o
Amari kaimasen.
The verb is kau. Polite form is kaimasu. Negative is kaimasen. Watashi wa hon o amari kaimasen. Now this is a little challenging. Until now we were using verbs. This is an adjective, right? I'm not very good at Tamil language. What is to be good at something?
Jozu.
Jozu da desu ne. Hi. So how do you put it in negative form?
Amari josude.
Jozu dewa watashi wa Tamil go ga not very much. Watashi wa Tamil go ga amari jozu de wa arimasen. I'm not that good at Tamil language. Nihongo ga amari jozu de wa arimasen. I'm not that good at it yet. Now, so if a Japanese person comes up to you and asks, and you do your jiko shokai and everything, they'll be very impressed. Okay? You say, "Hi, hajimemashite, so and so desu, yoroshiku onegai shimasu." They'll be very impressed. Then they start going super fast in Japanese, and they say, "Sumimasen, watashi wa nihongo ga amari jozu de wa arimasen." I'm still not that good at it. Now, to continue practicing a few adjectives. This television is not very big. Big?
Kono terebi wa amari takaimasen.
Big is okay. How do you make it negative? Okiku nai. Okiku arimasen. Kono terebi wa amari okiku arimasen. This television is not that big. My town is not very lively. Watashi no machi wa nigiyaka? Very good. Amari nigiyaka dewa arimasen. It's a noun adjective. So it should be dewa arimasen or ja arimasen. Dewa nai. Dewa nai desu. Daijoubu desu ka? Hai. Otsukaresama deshita. Any questions so far? Okay desu ka? Hai. So just one last thing. This isn't like we're not going to do a lot of practice or anything with this, but we have seen how several particles are used. And one more thing we're adding to the list of uses of de particle. I mentioned it earlier. One is you add to this method list tool, right? Tool de do something, right? Using a particular tool, I do this. Ohashi de tabemasu. Another is ingredients, right? Also, this is also kind of like tool. I cook biryani with vegetables or with meat. Yasai de biryani o tsukurimasu. The material that you use to do that action. Now, the difference between means, method, tool, and material is that in the latter case, you don't have it left after you finished your activity. Right? Materials get used up in the process of your action. Whereas means, methods, and tools, they stay the same. After you finish eating, the ohashi, I hope, is still not consumed. But after you finish cooking, this Vegetables are gone, right? You can't get them back. It's the same de particle, but this is a very minor difference. You won't really notice the difference. When you're using the language, nobody cares about the difference. But I'm just telling you so you know that they're actually two slightly different usages. You can also use it for if you're building something. You can say, I made it with this. Ki de tsukurimashita. Kono tsukue o ki de tsukurimashita. I made this desk with wood, right? So when you use tool, it'll also translate to with. When you use material, it'll also translate to with. One case, it'll be consumed. The wood is gone once you finished making the desk. But whatever tools you use, the hammers and the screwdrivers, they're going to still be there, right? After you finish. Both use de particle though. So please add it to your list of uses of de particle. Now it's become 4 like this, and you also have de, the connector, right? Connecting form of sentences. Sentence 1, de, sentence 2. That's in the case that it was a desu sentence. Actually, that desu is becoming de, right? You don't do this for masu sentences. We have a different way of connecting. Masu is the ending form of what? Verbs, right? So verbs have a different connecting form. We'll be seeing it very soon in lesson 11. Then you can start connecting verbs. Like I do more than one action. So far, we're doing only one action per sentence. But what if you want to talk about multiple actions, right? Yesterday, I went shopping. I went to a restaurant. I did all of these things and met my friend and all that. So we'll be seeing how to do that very soon. Hi. Until this, is it okay? Daijoubu desu ka? I'm glad to say that will be all for lesson 9 grammar part. With this, I want to go into the textbook. So today I thought for a change, we could all read together the conversation dialogue instead of me being mean and pointing out individuals. So we'll do that today. And lesson 10, I'll go back and point out and ask individuals to read. Daijoubu desu ka? Dewa, let me. Hi. Hi, dozo, please. Hi. Hi, online no minasan, daijoubu desu ka? I hope the screen is visible. Ii desu ka? Hi. Hi. Daijoubu desu ka?
Hi.
Hi. So I know it's almost lunchtime, but I'm sorry to say this lesson is going to be about food. Taitoru wa nan desu ka? Indo no tabemono. Indian food. Exactly. It's going to be about food. So if you're hungry, just hang in a little bit longer. I'll quickly review the other materials. Tomorrow, I will be reviewing kanji a little bit, so please do prepare kanji and come. So we saw something that was kind of interesting was we saw the 4 direction kanji. So, Shito, Nishi, we saw those. And we also saw a few adjective kanji, like Yasui and Takai. Taberu, we started seeing kanji for verbs and also for adjectives. I'll talk about this also a little bit again. Some of you may be wondering, how do I know how much of the kanji is there in kanji and how much is written in hiragana, right? There are some tricks to remembering this. I will share that soon. And of course, we also saw hyaku, en, and kuni, country, right? Koku, kuni. And this is just a small note on the negative form of adjectives, right? E adjectives as well as na adjectives. Hi. Now, before we actually see the conversation, We'll just see a couple of expressions because they will appear in the conversation. Hai, dozo. What does it say? Onedan. Onedan. Onedan, actually nedan means price. The difference is ikura desu ka. We saw this also, right? Ikura is always only a question form. Yes. You can only use it in a question statement. Ikura desu ka? How much is it? You can never use it in a regular sentence. Whereas nedan, you can use as a noun in a regular sentence. Kono pasokon no nedan wa nan desu ka? Nedan wa takai desu yo. It's expensive. It's so many thousand rupees, right? So you can use nedan to mean price. Hai, dozo. Kashikomarimashita. Hi. It's a long expression. Kashikomarimashita. Actually, this she will be very fast. Kash. Does it say kash? Kashikomarimashita. It's like, I've got it, is the exact meaning. But what it really means is something like, yes, sir, or yes, ma'am. So if you're in a restaurant and you're giving a waiter or a waitress your order, they will say this to you. That is, I've got your order. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. So, kashikomarimashita. I've understood. It's a very formal expression. You'll only see it mostly used in very formal situation or by people who are working in the service industry. Service industry people have to be very, very formal and very, very polite. It's a rule in Japan. So they'll always use the highest level of politeness. So that's why you hear this kind of thing. For most situations, wakarimashita kind of thing is enough. Wakarimashita means the same thing. This is more formal. Hai. We saw this earlier. Dake, only. You can use it with affirmative and negative, both. Daijoubu desu ne. This, it's difficult now. I'm going to skip it. When it comes in the conversation, we'll see. But basically, you pronounce this as utte. And it also is sometimes said as towa. Hai, towa. We'll see it in the conversation. Hai, kore wa? Ga. Now, so far we have seen one ga particle. It's the subject marker, right? This is another use of ga particle. It's used to connect sentences and mean but. So sentence 1, ga, sentence 2. And they become one sentence. What is the other but that we've seen before? Demo. Now, in the case of demo, it's 2 different sentences. Watashi wa nihongo no gakusei desu. Demo, nihongo wa muzukashii desu. It's 2 separate sentences. But when you use ga, it becomes one sentence. Watashi wa nihongo no gakusei desu ga, nihongo ga muzukashii desu. It becomes one sentence. It's a bit formal. Compared to demo, it's more formal. Otherwise, the meaning is the same. Of course, you saw amari plus negative form just now. And we saw this de added for materials. Using materials to make sense. Hai. So I think with this, kotoba, I don't think there's anything drastically new. If it comes up, we'll see it in the conversation. Yes? We'll go with the flow. Hai. Dewa, kono kaiwa ni dare ga imasu ka? Kono kaiwa ni. Kaiwa is, what is it? Nan desu ka? Conversation. In this conversation, kono kaiwa ni dare ga imasu ka?
What are they speaking?
Raja-san to Suzuki-san to Devi-san.
Raja-san to Suzuki-san to Devi-san to
Mise no hito
Mise no hito ga
imasu.
In this conversation, these 4 characters are there. And they're going to be talking a bit about food, right? Hai, deva hajimemasu. Let's get started. Let's read Raja's line first. Dozo. Hi. Is Indian cuisine tasty? He wants to know what a foreigner thinks, right? How do you feel? Indo no ryori wa oishii desu ka? Do you like Indian food? Is it tasty? What does Suzuki-san say? Hi. Oishii desu ga totemo karai desu. What does it mean? It's tasty, but it's very spicy, right? Shikashi means however. You can start a sentence with it. It's a bit formal compared to demo, right? You can also use demo, which means but. But, yasui desu ne. It's cheap, isn't it? Right? Desu ne. It's cheap, isn't it? However, it's quite cheap, isn't it? What does Raja-san say? Desu ne. Hai. Nihon wa nedan no takai kuni desu ne. So actually, takai kuni. It's an expensive country. But what is expensive? Nedan no takai. The thing that is expensive is nedan. That is prices of objects, right? The rates of things are expensive. So it is a country whose rates are high, isn't it? Nedan no takai kuni desu ne. What does Suzuki-san say? So this is new. So in the previous sentence, we have this new vocabulary, right? Nedan means price or rate. In this next sentence, we have kurai. Kurai means around or about. Approximately. You attach kurai to after any amount, right? Any number amount. Would you like to have some water? Please. Hi. So 300 yen. 300 yen kurai. It's approximately 300 yen. What is 300 yen? Curry, right? Kare. So curry as a dish in Japan is around 300 yen. This is again a bit outdated. It's probably more expensive now. So kare wa 300 yen gurai desu. Curry alone is even just curry, right? It's like 300 yen, around 300 yen. Nihon no kare wa amari oishiku nai desu. Not very tasty, right? Suzuki-san feels Japanese curry is not very tasty. This is a personal thing. I've heard some people swear by Japanese curry, and I've heard some people dislike it. So it really depends from person to person. But I promise you, it'll be nothing like curry as you know it as an Indian. Curry originated from India, of course, but the curry in Japan is something of its own. It's a totally separate dish. And it's made in a particular way. And it has a very specific flavor to it. So either you like it or you don't. It's one of those things. So Japanese curry is not very tasty, right? Amari plus negative form. Hi. What does baby-san say? Great. Taite means mostly, generally. Nihonjin wa taite nani o tabemasu ka? What do they mostly? Exactly. What do Japanese people mostly eat? Right? What's their diet consists of? What does Suzuki-san say? Onaji? Okomi? Yes. What does that mean? Same as Indians? What is okomi? Right. right? As I mentioned earlier, it's uncooked. That is rice that you buy in the provision shop. So it's the same as Indians, rice. Nihonjin to onaji. We saw this in an earlier lesson, right? Debi-san to onaji kaisha. Same company as Debi-san. So same thing as Indians, it's rice. Indojin to onaji, okome desu. Hai, onaji means same. Ne? Same as. The to is as. Hai, dozo. パンも食べますが、日本のご飯はとてもおいしいです。So what does he start by saying? Bread? More. More is what? Also. パンも食べますが、what is that? We also eat bread, but. The ga here is but. We eat bread also, but 日本のご飯はとても美味しいです。Japanese rice is very tasty. ね、とても very. Japanese rice, ね、that sticky rice is very, very tasty. So we like rice. Bread is available. We do have. We really love our rice. Hi. This is a bit of a long
question.
Dozo.
Is Japanese curry like more like does it taste really good as Indian curry?
So it really depends. Japanese curry tends to be less spicy. So it's not as spicy as Indian curries. And people say it has a greasy feeling to it. This is just what I've heard. I haven't actually tasted it because mostly it's non-vegetarian. I don't eat non-vegetarian food. But it's supposed to be like that. I'm not sure though. Personally, you have to try it and tell me.
I think I tried it sensei. My mother will make it like spicy.
So if she makes it at home, she makes it to the taste of people at home. So that may be more suited to what you like. But Japanese people tend to feel Indian food is too spicy for them. So they like biryani a lot, but they're like, oh, it's so spicy. It's so tasty, but it's so spicy. So mostly it won't be so spicy as what we have here. If somebody has it, please tell me.
They will eat with rice more. What they will eat with rice?
So they don't mix things into rice as we do as often. It is available. They do this thing where they pour things into rice and eat it, but they don't mix it like we do with sambar, rasam and things. It's more like dal chawal kind of style. You have the rice and you have the curry and you can have it. Yeah, separately, you just take a little bit with each bite of rice. That's one way they have it. Sometimes they just have the plain rice as a thing. And then they have soup on the side. And then they have vegetables or fish on the side. So it's more common for Japanese to eat items separately, individually for each flavor, than to mix things together and have it. Of course, there's things like ramen and bread and whatnot. But a traditional Japanese meal, each item will be separate, like on a kind of set meal sort of thing. Nihon no ryori, Nihon no tabemono. There are quite a few restaurants in India, in Chennai. They're quite expensive. So if you happen to go as a group and maybe like just order one or two things and share the bill. But you can also try it out that way. So that's what we do here. Sometimes we have an event. The end of an event, we go and then we share the bill. So it's affordable. And we also try out some Japanese food. Vegetarians, beware. There are very few options. But in Chennai, there are more vegetarian options because Indians go and have it. In Japan, it depends on the city. Places like Tokyo actually have vegan joints. But outside, like if you go to smaller towns, it's going to be a lot harder. And even things like soy sauce, which is technically supposed to be vegetarian, they add things like fish, like little bits of fish and things like that into that. So you have to be very, very careful if you're a picky vegetarian. Some vegetarians don't mind too much in like small quantities, or they have egg and things like that. But yeah, something to be a bit wary of if you care very much. But if you're a non-vegetarian, it's a great place. You get everything. Like every possible kind of meat is available in Japan. Hi. Yeah. Shall we continue? Now, this next sentence is a little bit long. Let's do it one at a time, right? Just the first line. Dozo. Hito wa okome o tabemasen. What does it mean? North Indian?
North Indian people.
Hi. Amari okome o tabemasen. They don't eat rice much, right? They also prefer other kind of items like parathas and whatnot. So, kita Indo no hito wa amari okome o tabemasen. The reason she's saying that is, Suzuki-san just now said, same as Indians, it's rice. But her point is that in India, we're such a big country, there's a lot of variation, right? From one area to another. Every little thing is different. So we cannot blanket say, all Indians, the staple food is rice, right? It varies from place to place. So she's going to add some more information about that. Let's see. It's an interesting sentence. Dozo. Indo no. Deva. Nado ga chigaimasu. Indo no kita to minami de wa. That is to say, between A and B, right? Kita to minami de wa. In North and South India, among these, tabemono ya fuku. Ya, fuku is clothes. Tabemono ya, food, clothes, and kotoba. Actually, kotoba means word. It also means languages. So here it's languages. So food and clothes and languages, etc. Things like these are different. Chigaimasu, different. And now that we've learned verbs, I will tell you, chigaimasu, it's the polite form. The plain form is chigau. Chigau. Chigau, ichi group desu. Polite form, chigaimasu. Chigaimasen. It's not different. Oh no, it's not different. You're right. Chigaimasen. So here it's chigaimasu. She's saying, in India, all of these little things are different from north to south. Right? There's a lot of variety. Suzuki-san says, in the polite response, but you hear some new information. Oh, I see. Hi. Restaurant. In the restaurant. Now they're at an Indian restaurant and they're having a chat. Suzuki-san says, Kirei na restaurant desu ne. What does it mean? It's a very clean restaurant, right? Probably clean, not beautiful. It could be beautiful. Sometimes you have these very aesthetic looking restaurants, right? They put a lot of decoration. Could be that too. What else does she say? Hey, sorry, me. Yasukute. What is she saying? Yasukute oishii.
Cheap and tasty.
Very good. Kute, it's the connecting form. It's cheap and tasty. Soren means additionally or on top of that. Added to that. It's not just that. Added to that, it's cheap and tasty. So it's good looking, it's very clean or pretty, and it's also cheap and tasty. Sumimasen. Hai. Baji. Hai. Baji. Onegaishimasu. Please bring us some baji. So probably she's talking to the waiter or waitress at this point. Sumimasen. Baji onegaishimasu. Sumimasen. Sometimes in fast spoken Japanese, the sound changes, the ma kind of disappears, and they say suimasen. It's the same thing. Suimasen. Baji onegaishimasu. And the mise no hito says? Hai. Kashikomarimashita. Yes, I've got it. Sure, ma'am. Right? Now Suzuki-san is lost, right? What does he ask? Bajjitte. Nan desu ka? Hai. What is this thing called bajji? So when you use this te, it's a double consonant te. The thing before it, it's like you're putting it in double quotes. Someone just said it to you. You didn't like understand it. So you're just quoting it. This thing, what is it? What do you mean by that? So anytime someone says something, we're like repeating that quote. This te works like double quotes in Japanese. In spoken language, that's how you know someone is quoting something you just said, right? So the formal aspect of this is the towa. So te is like spoken, casual. Towa is a bit formal. Bajji to wa nan desu ka? The thing such as bajji. What is it, right? This to is actually the quote marker. So to has multiple uses, like all particles in Japanese. One is with, right? With a friend, right? Watashi wa Tanaka-san to kaimono ni ikimashita. I went shopping with Tanaka-san. That is one to. Another to is and, right? Raja-san to Ashok-san wa heya ni imasu. Another to is this, marking a quotation. We will come back to this when we see more examples. So Suzuki-san, hearing the word bajji for the first time. What's this thing, bajji? What does Raja-san say? Nihon no tempura to onaji desu ga. Desu ga. But. Yasai. Dake de. Yeah. Has anyone heard of tempura? Yes. It's actually, you can make tempura with anything, like fish, meat, vegetables, just anything. It's very similar to bhaji or pakoda. You coat it in batter, you put it in oil and deep fry the thing and take it out. What I have noticed with my limited experience of tempura is the batter is kind of light compared to bhaji pakoda batter. It's also crispier, probably because it's lighter. So it's very tasty. Please do try it sometime. If you're a vegetarian also, it's available. So tempura is very similar. So he's like trying to tell Suzuki-san using a comparison that is convenient because such a Japanese cuisine also exists. This is just trivia, not important, but tempura is not actually Japanese. It came from Portugal. Way in the 16th century, 16th or 17th century. Portuguese cooking styles were imported in Japan. It became so popular in Japan that today people think it's Japanese. I don't know if Portuguese people still do this. So tempura, it's written in hiragana now because in the past, they didn't have katakana used for foreign words. They used to use kanji, even for foreign words. Thank God they don't do that now. So then that kanji got converted into hiragana. So even though it's hiragana, it's not really a Japanese, but now it's Japanese. It's become Japanese. So it's the same as tempura, Japanese tempura, but we make it only using or with vegetables. This day, what is it marking? Yes. Excellent. You're marking the materials that you're using to cook. Yasai dake de tsukurimasu. We use only vegetables for bhaji. Okay? We don't make any other kind of bhaji. Suzuki-san says, so desu ka? Nihon no tempura wa niku ya sakana mo tsukaimasu. What does it mean? Japanese tempura. What is tsukaimasu? To use. Tsukurimasu is to make. Tsukaimasu is to use. So for Japanese tempura, we also use niku is meat. Sakana is fish. We also use niku and sakana. Niku ya sakana mo and etc. Things that may not fall into these categories also, like shrimp is seafood. It's not strictly sakana, but it's seafood. So that's also included. So he's using ya structure, right? It's just a couple of examples. Things like meat and fish also we use for Japanese tempura. Okay? I think that's the last one. Soですね。はい。お疲れ様でした。大丈夫ですか? Any questions? オンラインの皆さん、大丈夫ですか? Any questions? Lesson 9 conversation?
Yes,
質問は、はい。sorry, one second. Yes?
Can I use go also for this? Like go.
If you want a more formal word, we say gengo. I'll just write it here. So go is a suffix. We cannot use just go. The full word is gengo. Gengo. So go we can use only if it's with another, like the name of the country. Nihongo, like that. Tamil go. So if we want the more formal, proper word, you can say gengo.
And this last one, sakana. Can we use go in this word like niku?
Yes, niku sakana mo is okay. It means only meat and fish. It's like a full list. But if you use ya, it's like there are more possibilities. I'm not writing everything in my sentence, but we can use many things. 大丈夫ですか? はい、どうぞ.
For kotoba, can we use in Japanese like Hindi, Tamil, or something?
Yeah, of course. But this is just, she wants to give the generic word. Instead of listing out all the languages, she just says languages as a big group. If you want, you can say. But she's trying to say what are the categories of difference. So this is not the language itself or the food itself. It's just the category that's different. Food is different. Food itself is different. We're not saying okome, chapati, paratha, tani-taniya solla. We're not saying it separately. いいですか? Hi, any other questions? はい、わかりました. You can ask after them. Anything else? はい。Lesson 9, we're done with the conversation, so you can work on the exercises at home anytime. I'll post it in classroom. Preferably work on it later in the week. Don't go home and do it right away today. You can do the Renshu and the textbook, but the actual online assignment part, put it off by a few days. That way it will be a good revision for you during the week. Tomorrow we will look at lesson 10. We'll start with kanji. Another small note. Lesson 10 kanji will be the last kanji that I'll take in class. For the rest of the lessons, you will be seeing the videos online at home. So you have to watch those videos before we do the lesson in class. So if I'm doing lesson 10 this week, you should watch lesson 11 kanji videos at home. It's only one video per lesson, about 15 minutes each. Yes, because the number of kanji is also slowly increasing. So they'll be around 15 minutes. Please watch the kanji video for a lesson before we do it in class. It's your yoshu. That is your preparatory practice. You have to do it beforehand. Yes. So you can start doing that. And in class, instead of taking the time of kanji, we'll be practicing more like talking, right? Using Japanese. Now your grammar is increasing. So you can start making more sentences. So we'll be taking that time in class instead to practice more. Another thing is lesson 10 is also like lesson 5, kind of different. We'll be learning how to talk about time, right? How to tell time in Japanese. What time is it? You know, Japanese classes from 11 to 1, things like that. So it's kind of different. It's fun. So I'm looking forward to doing that tomorrow. はい。皆さん、ありがとうございました。はい。ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。また明日ですね。お疲れ様です。はい。オンラインの皆さんもありがとうございました。